Okay, so we're back, and we're going to go ahead and talk again a little bit further about how to fix a low appraisal. And here we're just kind of focusing on conventional loans. The process is not dissimilar with FHA and VA loans, but it is a little bit different, and I'll do a separate video for government loans on here. But anyway, so now we've got this problem again where we've agreed to a purchase price of $600,000. And we've got an appraisal of $580,000. Now, if the borrower is trying to get in with the minimum amount down, if they've got their 5%, which here would be $30,000, well, to do 5% down now, they're going to need that $30,000 that they had already budgeted for their down payment. But if you can't get the seller to come off, if you have no other options, the buyer's going to have to come up with the gap money here, which is an additional $20,000 to cover the difference between, the sales price and the appraised value, and to have a 5% down on here. So we've talked about what option number one, you can try to get a new appraisal. Number two, the seller can lower the sales price. If those don't work, there's actually four more options here, and we're going to just touch briefly on number three and number four here. Number three, once you have the appraisal back and you see that it's been missed, I'm not an appraiser, but I have been looking at appraisals since 1989, and I know how to look at adjustments, condition, quality, different property profile characteristics, and just to see, what kind of a job the appraiser did. And most of the time, the appraisers are doing a really good job. However, the first thing we want to do is we want to contact the listing agent and then get as much information as we can about the property and just see, hey, was the square footage, the room count, the quality, the condition, the acreage, the zoning, were all of basically the county records and all of the stuff that's on there, was the information that's on the appraisal consistent with what the actual status is? Is there a chance that maybe the appraiser missed some square footage? Is there some additional acreage? Does the zoning allow for different use? I mean, could the property be eligible to maybe have the lot broken off and something else built on the top? Sometimes those are subjective things on there, but sometimes just on the property profile itself, without arguing with the appraiser about his comparable sales that he used, just make sure that all the information on there is correct. And if it's correct, well, then the appraiser did his job and there's no discrepancies there that we can go through. You'd be surprised how often just one little thing, just maybe measuring the property again and picking up maybe another 80 to 100 square feet, at a couple $100 a square foot, okay, that can make a difference here on this appraisal. The second one would be to look at the comparable sales. And the term ROV here is just an acronym for reconsideration of value. And technically what the appraiser wants to see is, if you want to submit a reconsideration of value, they want to see two additional comps. Now, the most recent one that I did was last year, so maybe about 6 months ago, and we had, on the comparable sales that the appraiser had used, there was one comp that was really it was an older property. It wasn't in as good of an area, and fortunately, it was about an 11-month-old sale, so it was getting close to being stale. An appraiser really shouldn't be using comparable sales that are over 12 months old, and ideally, an underwriter wants to see all the sales within 90 days. Okay, that's the ideal circumstances, but sometimes you've got to go either further away from the subject property or further back in time to be able to find these. Well, fortunately, we had one of these comps that pretty soon we could make a case that, hey, this wasn't a good comp based on the location and the time frame of it. But the other interesting thing is that in the same neighborhood, we found out that there was a home that was under contract. It hadn't closed yet, but it was literally within one block of this. You could have gone out in the subject property's backyard, thrown a rock into the yard of the other house. I called up the listing agent and said, hey, I see what you had the home listed for. I see that it's under contract. Are those two numbers close to each other? The real estate agent can't tell me what the sales price was, but he said, and he goes, you'll be very pleased with the results. And I said, great, do you know how long until this closes? And he says, well, we should be closing within about a week. So anyway, we had a little bit of time to be able to work this problem through. Well, the good news is that property closed, and it closed, and it was a very, very good comp. It was close, the proximity was close, and the time was as recent as you could get. It was a day old. So this was obviously a very good comparable sale. We used that to replace the one that we didn't like, which was the older one, and then we just had to bring in, just for fluff, had to bring in another one. And the bottom line is that we got an adjustment on that appraised value to come up enough to be able to make the deal work. But there was also some new information that came in during the course of the processing time on this, which was very, very convenient for us at this time. So anyway, but those are the things here. So get a new appraisal, lower the sales price, make sure the property profile information is correct, and if all of that stuff, if none of that is going to work on there, then we can go back and we can try to find additional comparable sales and submit them through the appraisal management company to the appraiser to have them consider maybe dropping one comp, saying, hey, I don't think this is I don't think you should have used this one, and here's a replacement one, or here's just some additional comparable sales that I think should be weighted in to the valuation on there. So hopefully that helps, and stay tuned. We're going to come back with number 5 and number 6 on here. So thanks for coming to thecreditjungle.com. Push button, get mortgage professional. This is George Anderson, and we'll talk to you in just a few minutes. Thanks.